Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio, no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast as you're driving along in your car or your truck or on public transport. Just put in those earbuds and sit back and take it all in. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the issue of why women avoid jobs where they're measured on performance. Anything that's strictly pass or fail, you got to meet your sales target or KPI target. Women avoid those jobs, and that's been the case for as far back as I can remember. Now, it's come up again as an issue, which is why I'm doing this vid. But a colleague of ours that does work for us every now and again, and he got a gig on his own, nothing to do with us, where he had to review why the employee turnover, particularly in the sales department, had gone from being very low to being exceptionally high, over 100% turnover in 12 months. And so he was asked to go and interview some of the people that had made the most scathing commentaries in their exit interviews or posted stuff online or whatever. So that's what he was doing, and he'd completed all that, and he was telling us about it. And so this is part of my own experience, and of course the what he was recounting. Now it went like this. It's a high-tech industrial engineering firm selling, pretty high-tech industrial products. Now I know from my own experience, getting quality technical salespeople to sell at that level of professionalism and technical competence and technical knowledge, it's not easy. It takes quite a while to build that level of proficiency in a team. And these guys that he was doing the work for have got, I don't know, like 100 salesmen or something, but they developed a pretty high performing team. Then suddenly they were getting leaned on by like the Black Rocks and the State Streets. No, it's an all male sales team. No good. You've got to have minorities here. We want 50% women. Now, how much was directly as a result of that pressure, ESG, DEI type pressure, or how much of it was, say, a new CEO or something that was throwing his weight around? That's a bit harder to tell. But decision was made. No, that's it. Now, which means they had to get rid of many top quality, top notch, high performing straight white male sales, because it was all straight white males, had to get rid of them to make way for much lower quality people. Now they had to lower the bar apparently, so straight away you've got a problem here. If you're hiring high performing people or those capable of it, then your turnover is likely to be, provided you don't treat them like shit, but your staff turnover, employee turnover is likely to be fairly low, or certainly within a manageable range. But once you go to hiring people purely because they're not straight white males, then you have to lower the standard. And as this guy was saying, he not one of the hires they made would have met the standard the minimum standard they had for straight white male salespeople, technical salespeople. So now remember, these are technical salespeople. They're not selling cornflakes or something. It's pretty high tech stuff. So anyway, they get all these women in, and they're paying them the same as the men, but they've got the same budgets, the same targets, the same KPIs, and the failure rate is huge. So come the end of the first quarter with these women, and remember they're hiring low quality people just to make up the numbers. There aren't the high quality applicants out there. Even though the gig pay, from what he says, it pays reasonably well, or well enough anyway. So these women just aren't making the numbers. They're not getting anywhere near it. And so they're being told at the end of the first quarter, the first 3 months, well, look, you really need to, they're given 3 months grace to find their feet. So then the next 3 months they have to start delivering. And so they get 9 months maximum of non-performance before they get fired. The men don't get that long. The men get fired in 3 months. Already you're looking at something that's, you can see how they've made special carve-outs for these women that the men don't get. But what was happening was that the women weren't getting the numbers, and the women technical sales representatives weren't getting the numbers, and so they were getting a warning, and they were choosing to quit rather than put in the effort that was necessary. So as he explains it, the women complained about the hours were too long, the pressure and the expectation was too high, and this fixation with getting the numbers. I mean, you're in sales, for fuck's sake. This fixation with getting the numbers was an outrage as they saw it. And so rather than try and put in the effort and put in the commitment necessary to be successful, and the rewards are considerable. It's a reasonably prestigious job, and they give you a nice car to drive around in, and you get it's pretty decent sound. If you make your numbers, the bonuses are reasonably generous. So it's it's not it doesn't pay shit money or anything. So and yet still they no, the stress is too much. I can't be measured. I can't be measured on performance. I just can't be. I need the women say I need a special carve out. Don't these misogynist, evil, patriarchal men understand that I as a woman bring different qualities to the role? But it's a sales role. It's not a nursing sick people in a nursing home or hospital, or so it's not that the job is. Why do you want to be in a job where performance is the primary issue, and then you want special carve-outs to make it so performance is not the primary? It's insane, that mentality. But so this was it. The women were quitting rather than. And the odd few that sort of hung in there for a little bit longer, but didn't do the numbers, got fired anyway. But instead of realising the mistake, they then would hire other women, and then the same thing would happen again. And this is where the staff turnover come in. So pretty much they've turned over their entire female technical sales staff. They turned it over twice in 1 year. So. This is the fallout that they've gone through. And so, well, haven't they learned their lesson? Then it's not working. No, they're even sort of thinking of doubling down. So he's shaking his head in disbelief. That to them, they just can't work out what the problem is. And they get some lesbian consultant to come in and say, oh, it must be the patriarchy. That's what's causing it. Now the exit interviews, the women pretty much all came up with the same stuff. And you've got to imagine it's girlies getting together in the girls' bathroom and agreeing on the talking points here. But as he explains it, they were annoyed about the hours they had to work. Now the men work those hours, but they didn't think they should have to, because again they bring special qualities, mysterious qualities to the. So they didn't want to start early or finish later, and now the technical deficiency in the women was detected, which would have been like so they gave after work classes on the technology where the products, how they worked, and they had like set up benches where stuff was set up apparently where the women could go in, and it was free, and they'd even put on a pizza or something like that, so they could have dinner while they were there. But hardly any women turned up. Well, they turned up once and go, oh, this is a bit complicated. I can't be bothered with that. So anyway, it is, you can probably figure it out. But the company maintained its rigor on you've got to make the numbers. We're not going to make special allowances for you. Now, this is to me, this is a clear indication that most companies by now would have gone, okay, well, you can have half the budget, or we'll give you the easiest accounts, or we'll give you special allowances of carve outs, whatever, and so we'll let you off the hook. You don't have to meet the same standard as the men. That's what most organizations do. But these guys didn't do that. They stayed with the rigor, and that's where, and they're to be applauded for that, by the way. But that's where the turnover comes from. Now, if you applied that in any organization with an affirmative action hiring program, if they enforce the absolute rigor on key performance objectives and or in this case, sales targets, that sort of thing, if they rigorously enforced that, you would see nearly all the affirmative action hires would be either leaving under their own steam because it was too hard and they couldn't hack it, or they'd be getting fired for non-performance. So, but what we've really got in the Western world today is not only are they doing affirmative action hiring, that most organisations, very few exceptions actually, are doing these special carve-outs for the affirmative action hires, be they women or brown people or whatever, so that they don't have to perform to the same standard. Now, that's and again, I see this as widespread. It's costing the Western nations and the business sector, gazillions of dollars. Your productivity issues, just pure waste of money, and people who can't do the job, don't want to do the job. And based on the exit interviews of these women in the technical side, they don't really give a shit. Sure, they want the high salary and everything, but they don't give a shit. Really, at the end of the day, if it isn't easy to do, then they don't, they're not really interested in it. And the idea of being measured is something that terrifies them. They'll run away from it at a million miles an hour. Now, coming to my own experience, when I first started in the workplace, there was, in the technical sort of roles that I was getting involved in, and the supervisory stuff, there was no women really in there. I remember, being like a schoolboy working in a warehouse, just pushing a broom, that sort of stuff. There was a couple of young women in the administration office, and they used to throw their weight around and wag their finger at you. And they were the boss, the guy who was in charge of the warehouse. They were like his girls, and he was a big tough man and everything. But other than that, I had no real involvement with women in demanding roles. I never noticed them in demanding roles where they were getting measured strictly on performance. So anyway, so I'm fast forward. I'm now like an EVP. The board of directors is getting in my face about, well, why haven't you hired any women, and this sort of stuff, and why are all the salespeople straight white males? And so I okay, and around this time, one of the women came to me, and who was in, I think, a sales admin type role, something like that. And she bypassed her boss. She should have gone to her boss, but she came to me and said, "Look, I want a piece of the gravy training." But she just looked at it, not can I do the job. She didn't look at it in that. Her perspective was, look at all those guys making the big bucks and driving the Beamers and wearing sharp suits. Two things. I want some of that glory. I want some of those big bucks. And on top of that, she was a single girl, probably mid-20s, somewhere around there. And she's like, I want to be closer, shoulder to shoulder, cheek to jowl with all these single men who are making the big money. That was the second sort of part of her requirement. So none of it was really honest. And so I tried to explain to her about doing the job. And she just seemed, I remember looking at her face, she's just blank, like, you're just giving me bullshit. You're just being a misogynist, trying to deny me my place in the sun and this sort of thing. So I understood how she worked. I'd seen enough of her to know that I doubted she had the energy or the commitment, or even the brains really to do that sort of work. But anyway, she was persistent. So I went to her boss, who was like, the sales manager, whoever it was, sales director or something, and said, look, this is what's happened. What do you want to do? And so I gave him a special budget because he had a budget for 20 salespeople, for example. And so I had to, I had the authority as EVP to do this. But okay, I'll give you a budget for 21, so you can add the woman in without having to get rid of somebody, because I didn't want to have to get rid of one of the guys to make a place for her. So she goes into the role, and it's exactly the same as this consultant buddy of mine was telling me in this industrial technical sales thing with the women there. She just wouldn't put the work in. Hey, you've got to come in early, and you've got to you've got to put the hours in to be successful. And I was the same, or the sales director and myself were the same. You're not going to get a special allowance. And she pleaded, she knew she wasn't going to make the numbers, and she also knew she wasn't prepared to put the effort into it. So she tried all sorts of female ruses, like turning up for work in a short dress and things like that. I said, no. And she comes, but why can't you give me a special carve out? And then she get spiteful and get smarmy, spiteful. Oh, you're just doing this because it's a boys' club and that sort of stuff. So I mean, an argument that hasn't changed. The girlies are using it today as much as they did 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. So so she just wasn't making the numbers, and she knew it, and she knew that and she knew we weren't going to make special carve outs for her. She insisted that she should get it, but I'm a girlie. You have to make special allowances for me. Don't you like me in my short dress? No. You have to make the numbers. You've got to do the work. If you don't do the work and don't put the effort in, you're not going to make the numbers. Oh, and she made all sorts of complaints, complaining that I'm surrounded by men and they talk too loud, or and they don't invite me to lunch, and so no. Make your numbers and commit to making those numbers. If you need help, come to either your boss, the sales director, or come to me, or both of us, and we'll do whatever we can to help you. But you must put the work in if you're going to make it. But she just plain wouldn't do it. It's just no. I want all the benefits. I want all the benefits. I want the equal outcome. I want the equal outcome with the hardest working, most successful sales guy in the team. I want an outcome equal to his, but I don't want to put any of the work that he puts in. So she presented that more or less that argument. I said, well, look, Billy Bob's in at 7 a.m. Billy Bob's rarely leaves before 7 p.m. He's one of the hardest workers, one of the most diligent, and he's out there knocking on doors and beating on bushes all day long. So he is the classic hard-working, consummate professional technical sales guy. So if you want to know what you have to do to be successful, do what he does. And you've got an example right in front of you. Oh no, I don't want to. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Oh, I want to work as hard as he does. I want to work half as hard as he does, but get the same outcome. And she knew that she was going to be heaved overboard. So she did just not making the numbers, nor was she making the commitment necessary to make the numbers. So she knew she was going to get fired. So she went off and worked for some big, really big multinational, where she kind of just is like a hostess come account rep type person, and that would have suited her. There's no real heavy KPIs, and she just needs to flit around and look pretty and that sort of stuff. And which she could do. So anyway, that's it. So this issue's been around for a long time, and she's one example. But the amount of times that I had women approaching me, wanting, I want that job that pays the big bucks. Well, sure. Are you prepared to put the work in? Oh, hey, don't push it, buddy. And none of the ones I tried ever in the whole time, none of the sales, none in the rigorous sales roles, none of them survived. What happened, the only ones that did survive are with the companies that gave them special carve-outs, either gave them the easiest, juiciest accounts to look after, or alternatively, they had a lesser budget, and they were given other help and hand-holding that wasn't available to the men. But this to me is an indication, certainly in my view at least, that's a stark sort of reminder of that you can hire affirmative action, but if you apply performance rigor, to well, it could be sales roles or something else, it doesn't matter. Then none of these, or hardly any of these, affirmative action hires would survive more than a few months. And the fact that some of them survive years is an indication of just how the level of rigor and how the bar is lowered and lowered, whether it be entrance into university or something else, how the bar is lowered and lowered, just so these affirmative action hires can keep their jobs. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.